It was an early morning in Fluttershy's cottage. She was getting taken care of her animal friends before her special date with her boyfriend. She and her boyfriend had been dating for the past 5 months, and she was so excited when he actually asked her out for 5 months ago. She has actually never been in a serious relationship before, and this was actually her very first boyfriend. And she had asked some of her friends some advice what to do on a date. And of course, all of her friends gave her different advice, but they all gave her one same answer for advice. Be yourself. Always be honest. And she actually had a good time with her boyfriend. And it was a great time. But just before Fluttershy was getting ready to go to the park to meet her boyfriend, she gets a knock on the door, and it turns out it was a mail pony delivered a letter to Fluttershy. And she thanked the post office, the post pony, and she opened the letters. And the letter was actually from her boyfriend. He wrote, quote, Dear Fluttershy, I'm sorry I can't meet you today at the park on a date. I'm sorry if I cannot be there. The reason is that I'm moving to Baltimore since I had fallen in love with another mare. I'm so sorry, Fluttershy. You're very kind, very sweet mare. You're perfect. But this mare is... I cannot explain it. She's very beautiful. I'm sorry. I hope you find some peace and that you find somebody else to be with. I'm so sorry. End quote. After she read it, she was devastated. Fluttershy was so happy to have found somebody to be with. And now this. After 5 months, she was so devastated. She didn't really hope that they could be maybe perhaps he could be the one to be with. And after that, she threw the letter in a fire in her house, an open fire, and just flew right to her bed and didn't leave her home for the next few days. Fluttershy had staying in her room, barely had been eating anything. But after about 4 days, she decided it was time to just try to move on. She went to the park, just sitting there by herself after she had taken care of her animal friends. She had even told her friends about this particular problem or this event. She didn't want to bring it up to them because if she did tell, like for example, Rainbow Dash, she would be not so happy. She would try to say, I will go to Baltimore and talk to this stallion and bring him back. But Fluttershy would say, no, don't. The others probably used to be there to comfort her. But in this perspective from Fluttershy's side, she refused to even mention about this to any pony. But eventually, she had to tell them. But for a moment, she didn't want to do that. So after nearly about a week, she had decided it was time to tell her friends. Even it was going to hurt a lot more. But when she did tell her friends at Twilight's castle, they all freaked out. But most of all was Rainbow Dash. She said, He did what? How can he do that? You're very kind to him. You've always been there for him no matter what happens. And this is how the things he do for you? After 5 months? Even Applejack said, Sweetie, you cannot be really trusted as this. We all know you want to be happy. And maybe he's right. Maybe you will find someone to be with. But Fluttershy didn't speak much after that. After she revealed what's happened, she just left the castle and went back home. Her friends were really devastated about all this event, even though Rainbow did actually say that she wanted to just go to Rainbow Baltimore and bring this stallion back home, or at least talk to him. But Twilight and the others said no. It would only bring more harm or mere sadness or sorrow to the Fluttershy. So even after all this, they all had divided their opinions about this, but they all agreed not to bring her ex-boyfriend back. It would only cause her more heartbreak. After some time, it seems that Fluttershy had moved on from this event. But it's even that she seems to have moved on, but she's still very heartbroken. And one day, when Shining Armor came to see his sister, he hadn't even seen her. He had seen his sister Twilight in quite some time. But during the when he went there, they both went up for a walk when they encountered Fluttershy at the park. Fluttershy, are you sitting here again? Twilight asked. Yeah, I am. Twilight had mentioned to her brother what happened, Fluttershy, and she he was really surprised as what had happened. Fluttershy, my sister had told me what happened, and I'm very sorry to hear what you said. It is okay, said Fluttershy. You know, I wish I could do something to help you. But then suddenly it came to him. I know that this might be too soon to even ask, but I have a friend in the Royal Guard back in Canterlot by the name Comet Wing. He's a good friend of mine. We trained together since we are the same training guard. Anyways, he had been heartbroken as you did. He was engaged with a mare till he found out that she had been cheating on him for the past year. And if you want, I could ask him maybe that he can ask you out. But Shani, do you think that isn't too early, like you said? Yes, I know. Forget that I even mentioned about this. Wait, his name is Comet Wing? Royal Guard? Yeah, that's right. I I would give it a try. Are you sure, Fluttershy? Twilight asked. Yeah, maybe Rainbow and others are like you said, Twilight. Maybe it's time to move on. I just want to be happy, but I just don't want to be heartbroken. Don't worry, Fluttershy. Comet Wing is not that kind of stallion. He has always been honest about things. And if there would be any problem in your relationship, he would just be there to try to work it out. Even talk to you, try to figure out what's causing the problem. Don't worry. He is a good friend of mine. And I will write to him when I get back home. And Fluttershy said thanks. So for the next couple of days, Fluttershy was still very cautious and curious about this stallion by the name Comet Wing. But the day after, she gets a letter, and it was from Canterlot, and it was actually written by Shining Armor's friend, Comet Wing. Comet Wing mentioned that he was sorry about what this happened to Fluttershy, and he said that he is coming to Ponyville within a few days since he had a permission to leave from his duties. And he had hoped to maybe to meet her and see if they could work out as a date or something. He said that he also mentioned in the letter that he didn't want to force her to go on a date if she didn't felt for it. But He would like to at least meet her, talk to her, just spend some time, just get to know her. And from that moment, Fluttershy smiled a little bit. She was very happy that at least that he wanted to spend some time, just get to know her before perhaps consider it go on a date. So, with the next couple of days, she was curious to want to know more about Comet Wing from Twilight, since Twilight knew Comet Wing. And from what she remembers about him, he was a very brave, strong, fast flyer, and even one of those bravest soldiers in the guard after her own brother. And a couple of days later, Comet Wing arrived to the castle where Fluttershy was waiting. She was so nervous when she heard the knock on the gate, or on the door. Spike opened the door and took him to the library where they were waiting. So, this is your friend Fluttershy? He asked. Yes, this is Fluttershy. Well, um, hello. My name is Comet Wing. It's an honor to meet you. Same here. Maybe you can take her to the sugar corner to just get to know each other, said Twilight. Sounds a good idea. Are you up for it? But Fluttershy didn't see it much, just nodded. Even deep down in her heart, she was curious, but also scared. Not only that, to be heartbroken. She wanted to take it slowly, which he agreed. And at the sugar corner, Fluttershy didn't speak at all, at most. She only answered a few single words for an answer, but he did actually tell some about his things about himself, like before he met Shining Armor, that he was born in Cloudsdale, but he moved to Canterlot to be trained as a beautiful guard. But in most of his in his in his spare time or free time, he enjoyed to watch animals. He loved animals, and he used to have a pet pigeon as a pet when he grew up. And that made Fluttershy to be a little more interested. So after this, they left the sugar corner and just went for a walk to town, and they started talking a bit more. Even Fluttershy was still very quiet for the most, but she started to open up a little more and more, slowly. And as they walked, Applejack, Rarity, who was at the Rarity's shop, she actually saw her with Comet Wing, and they both surprised to see who this could have been. So when they ran into Spike at the castle, they asked Spike who this stallion was with Fluttershy. They had never seen him before. Spike explained that he is a royal guard from Canterlot by the name Comet Wing. They were a bit surprised, so they asked how did they know him. Spike explained that he's a friend of Shining Armor. And even Fluttershy was very happy to at least spend some time with Comet Wing. And he decided to stay in Ponyville for the next couple of days. And even during this time where they meet each other, he actually had it ask her out on a first date the second day when he was there. She said yes. And he actually took her for a picnic outside town. Even at first, Fluttershy was very curious, but she took it slowly. Fluttershy didn't mention about her ex-boyfriend. He only mentioned that from Shining Armor and Twilight. And he was a little bit angry hearing what he did to Fluttershy. Someone who is sweet, kind, and generous, and mostly sweet of all. And even when they sat there, he even mentioned that he thinks that she is very cute, and he was very happy to at least get to know her. Even this is just the first date, but even that he said, if I had known you better, more better. I would have had asked you to be my girlfriend and some things, but I know you want to take it slowly, get to know each other better. Don't get me wrong. I I'm not much most of the stallions you have encountered before. And that made Fluttershy to blush, but she agreed. Even after that, he had to go back to Canterlot. They both actually said goodbye to each other at the train station and gave each other a hug. Even when he was away, they kept in touch by letters, and even they became good friends at first. But slowly, after a few months, they started getting seems to get more romantic ones between each other. Because at first the letters they sent to each other was just "I miss you as a friend. I hope to see you soon again." But slowly, it started to get more romantic ones, like "I love you. I hope to see you soon and see your beautiful smile. You're every time I see you, you make me feel happier than I used to be." And soon, when he came back for the second time, he actually asked her out, and on the second date, he actually had asked her if she was willing to be his girlfriend, and she said yes. Even they both decided to take it slowly because they didn't want to rush into serious relationship. Just they wanted to see if this relationship could work. They just wanted to make sure it actually did work. Even after all of this, Fluttershy's family and friends were really surprised that she had been seeing this stallion, or at least that they were actually not dating. Because when Fluttershy mentioned that Comet Wing was her boyfriend to Rainbow and Applejack, they were really surprised. But Rainbow, she was like in her protective mode and said, "If he tries to break your heart, I will make sure that he never returns back in one piece." Even that Fluttershy knows she was joking. Of course, since Fluttershy was like a sister to her, and she would always protect her from any harm. And even Shining Armor, when he was told from Comet Wing himself that he was seeing Fluttershy as a couple, he was just happy that his friend had probably found someone better than his ex-fiancée. But after they'd been dating for about 6 months, and one day when Comet Wing was on his off his break from his duty when he was walking around the town, he ran into some pony. And it was some pony that he had even seen in quite some time. His ex-fiancée. She told him that she had left the other stallion, that she wanted to be with him again. And it turned out she was completely unaware that Comet Wing was already seeing some pony else. She was not even aware of that. But when she did ask him if he was willing to take her back, but he said no immediately. She asked why. He said that he was already dating some pony else. And she asked who. And it was actually one of the great heroes by the name Fluttershy. And that was something that his ex-fiancée could not compete with. She was just a regular unicorn, but compete with some pony that's so famous, it would not work out for her. She tried to convince him to take her back. She had changed, and she would never do the things like him. But he refused. He didn't want to see her anymore. It's because he said that he was so deeply in love with her, and that he was ready to get. They had only been engaged for about 2 months, and they had already planned to set a date for a wedding, but they haven't even done that yet. But after that, she cheated on him for about a year. Before they were engaged, he was not happy about it, and he said that he didn't even have nothing to do with her, and that made her furious. But he told her, "I'm sorry, but after what you did to me, you broke my heart. How can you even I could accept that you want me back after what you did? Do you think I could ever accept what you did? It was a I just forget that it never happened. It doesn't even work like that. I'm sorry. You will find someone to be with." But that was not the end of it. His Comet Wing's ex-fiancée tried a few more times for the next couple of days to try to convince him to try to take him back, to take her back. But every single time he said no. And after the final try, she gave up and left town. And from what he had heard, she found someone else in another town and just started moving and working and soon eventually got married. He did actually mention all about this. They tried to Fluttershy when he came back to Ponyville for a visit. And Fluttershy knows that he will never go back to her or any way. But Fluttershy was really it is happy that Comet Wing was so serious about being with her. After that, Shining Armor had also been told, he was very proud to see that his friend stood his ground and never go back to this that his ex-fiancée did to him. Because no pony should never be allowed to be taking someone back after what they did, even if it was a lied to his own pony or it been cheating on, especially for a whole year. Even for Fluttershy's case, she was very happy to have some pony like Comet Wing in her life. And after they'd been together for about nearly 5 years, Comet Wing took Fluttershy to the park where they had just where they sit down and relaxed when he popped the question. He asked her if she wanted to marry him, and she said yes immediately. And she cried. She could not have expected that he would going to ask her to marry, because she was just want to take it serious at first, but she was just happy. And after they both had told their friends and families, they all were big surprised. Even her family. They never expected Twilight, their own daughter, Fluttershy, to be married. But Fluttershy's younger brother, Zephyr Breeze, had a talk with Comet Wing. Even though that he is younger, but he still protected her sister. And he said, "Listen, if you hurt my sister, I know. You will hurt me, and I will never hear hand of it. Good call." And then, on their wedding day, Fluttershy had asked Rarity to be her bridesmaid. And Shining Armor, he had been asked to be, of course, Comet Wing's best man. Even after the wedding itself, it was just a perfect moment from both. They all had a great time. They just dancing. Even the both families and friends could see how happy Fluttershy were when she was dancing with Comet Wing for the first time. It was like the whole world was just standing still for him. And that made Fluttershy just happy to be with some pony like Comet Wing. Even after this, after they went to the honeymoon to a tropical island for about a week, there they had this amazing time, just enjoying watching the local birds, life, wildlife, and even just swimming around in the ocean. And when they came back, Comet Wing had decided to ask to be transferred, to be serving as a royal guard to Twilight. In that meeting, he couldn't be living in Ponyville to be with his wife Fluttershy, because even if he had lived in Camelot, he had to go back and forward, and in which it will only be they can only perhaps see each other for only a few days in a week. And of course Celestia agreed, and he was now serving Twilight as her personal royal guard. Even after all of this happened, They both were so deeply in love, and after being married for about nearly 2 years, they were ready to have their own family. And after nearly a few months, both were so super excited to get to know they were going to have a daughter. And during the time before their daughter was born, they talked about several names for if it's going to be a boy, if it's going to be a girl. They had several different names for, just had different options for if it's going to be a girl, a boy. But then they had decided the perfect name if it was a girl or if it's a boy. And when they find out, they had a daughter which they named Velvet Blossom. Velvet Blossom. She was very unlike her parents, but she did actually inherit the ability to talk to animals like her mother. While she was growing up, she often helped her mother with her animal friends. But it was something else that she caught her eyes to be as something that she didn't expect to, and that was fashion designing. She had actually found the passion in to be as a fashion designer. As she was a filly, she often helped her aunt Rarity at her boutique. She was really surprised that she had gotten so good at in fashion. And once she was about 10 to 12 years old, she often actually went with Rarity to Manhattan for either a fashion show or go to see her second boutique where she met Coco Pommel and became friends with her. While she was growing up even or get older, she had decided she wanted to be a fashion designer, despite that she still had to help her mother from time to time. But she did actually was very supportive to her by her parents' decision that she wanted to be a fashion designer. Both her parents, Comet Wing and Fluttershy, supported her dream. And after this, she wanted to go to a fashion designer school, and with help from Rarity, since she had a very influence in those best credit in those crowds and contacts, she managed to get inside to this fashion school in Camelot, and it one of the best in the kingdom. After that, she finished her studies there. She actually moved to Manhattan to start working with Coco Pommel, but that was only temporarily because after that she had been worked there for about 2 years. She moved back to Ponyville, where she started working for Rarity as her assistant. Around the same time, she actually fell in love with a stallion. This stallion worked as a doctor, and he was really handsome to her. And they had been dating for about 5 years when he asked her to get married. She said yes immediately, and after they'd been married for about 3 years, they had their first child, a daughter. And 4 years later, they had another daughter. And even for Velvet Blossom, she can never have been happier to have a family of her own, and even especially Comet Wing and Fluttershy. Seeing how happy their daughter, while they growing up, pursued her dream to be a fashion designer and even have her own family one day and even have grandchildren, even if that never happened, she was really happy to have her friends and her family to support. But if but for Fluttershy's case, she was really happy that if she got mentioned by that Comet Wing actually showed some interest in her. He was very unlike her ex-boyfriend did. Even that they were similar in personality that was both kind, but he was never in remotely what he did. Comet Wing, if he had never had went to Ponyville or even if Channing Armour did have mentioned about Fluttershy, he would never have experienced the true love. I found his true love, his soulmate, and even had their daughter together. He never missed out so much joy in his life. even had never met Fluttershy. And for Fluttershy, it was the same thing. If she had never met or even been mentioned about Comet Wing, she would never have been so happier when she met him. And that's how Fluttershy and Comet Wing found a true love, got a big family. The end.